Musk speaking.
It's 7 o'clock in the morning, and Elon Musk anxiously waits for his golden payoff, his prize for paying his dues in the valley.
I expect to receive a car that I've just bought, which is called the McLaren F1.
It's $1 million for a car. It's decadent.
There are 62 McLarens in the world, and I will own one of them.
Back in '95, there weren't very many people on the internet, and certainly nobody was making any money at all. Most people thought the internet was going to be a fad.
Not this South African entrepreneur. Musk sold his first computer program at the age of 12, and he hasn't stopped selling since.
Wow, I can't believe it's actually here. It's pretty wild, man. Just 3 years ago, I was showering at the Y and sleeping on the office floor. And now, obviously, I've got a $1 million car and quite a few creature comforts. It's just a moment in my life. All clear.
My values may have changed, but I'm not consciously aware of my values having changed.
My fear is that we become spoiled brats, that we lose a sense of appreciation and perspective.
A year ago, Musk sold his software company, Zip2, which enabled newspapers to publish online for $400 million cash.
Receiving cash is cash. I mean, those are just a large number of Ben Franklins.
It's a perfect car for Silicon Valley, it really is.
There it is, gentlemen, the fastest car in the world. I could go and buy one of the islands in the Bahamas and turn it into my personal fiefdom. Wow. I'm much more interested in trying to build and create a new company.
Yes, folks. Elon Musk there in a segment about how he's buying a McLaren F1 wants you to know that he's not just about conspicuous consumption.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to do proper businessman stuff. So there he is. Hello, David. Welcome. And happy holidays.
Happy holidays, y'all. Welcome to our official Left Reckoning holiday stream. I'm probably the only one who gets worked up about this. This is not an episode of Left Reckoning. It's non-canon. But this is the time for Matt and I and all of us to get together and take a look back on 2022. An exciting year.
And this is a sort of special, it's like a bowl game.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the players ain't playing, but it still seems to matter a lot. Yeah.
Well, this is where we announce who is our bump steer of the year. But I do just want to double back. Elon Musk definitely going to be in contention there. And we'll see to what extent if he's able to come up on stage to collect the award at the end of the night. But just a little bit more context. That Justine, who you heard in that saying, I hope we don't lose our values or whatever. Elon Musk's ex-wife refutes claim that his firstborn child died in his arms, quote, and not that it matters to anyone except me because it's one of the most sacred and defining moments of my life, but I was the one holding him. So that was from November of this year to update us on Elon there.
Super dark.
Yeah. Am I a little bit slow, David? Do I need?
You are a little bit slow. If you want to refresh, I can let
cool.
everyone know what we're doing.
Yeah.
So this is not going to be a full episode, and we're going to do something we usually don't do on these, which is we'll be monitoring the chat. And I don't know if we're going to do a Q&A necessarily, but if you got something to say, feel free to drop it in the chat. We might pop some things up here, but we have a pretty exciting list of folks who are in contention for the bump steer of the year. Just a little bit of background on what that means. Bump steer traditionally is more of a term meaning like giving somebody bad advice. We 100% lifted this from Texas Monthly, which puts out every year their list of bump steers. Usually sometimes a little off in my opinion, but we figured we'd continue the tradition in our own way here on Left Reckoning. Look at the I was just explaining to folks, Matt, what bump steer means. There's the kind of more heady and correct historical one, but it's just a funny combination of words. If folks know what a steer is, it's a neutered male bull. So it becomes a steer, and the idea is that basically a bump steer is sort of useless. You trick somebody into thinking they were getting something that was going to be able to provide and for their ranch or whatever, and then you sell them something that is wrong, and you're a little bit of stupid yourself for not checking yourself. But
Exactly. Bad guidance. There's a lot of people out here looking to basically waste your time with obfuscation and bullshit. And, we're looking to not add to that and subtract to it.
yeah, exactly. But we got some interesting ones here, and this is our second year doing this. The first one, Jayapal won the prestigious honor of Bum Steer of the Year for her willingness to basically go with every lie that the Biden administration was feeding the Progressive Caucus. And we'll have more on her in a second. But just remembering the illustrious company that folks will be entering by winning this award.
Yeah, I'll hold my tongue until we're ready to talk about that a little bit more in depth. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to set you up because we have a historical point. I mean, Matt was saying to me before we went live that, there are all of these characters that people would probably remember from the TMBS days, and sometimes we don't cite them as much as we probably should. So we're adding a new segment to this year where we're going to add somebody into the Hall of Fame for Bum Steer of the Year, and Matt can introduce us to him.
Yeah, this is the time of year where Auld Lang Syne really hits, and you just think about old acquaintances. And yet when I think of Klubeck, who is very much somebody we haven't checked in on in a while. Some people may not even be familiar with Stephen Klubeck, Las Vegas timeshare millionaire, Democrat donor. Somebody who was very familiar with him was Michael, and I just remember being in the studio. I feel like we played that clip as much as any. Like, if we could look in the metadata for how many times this clip was accessed, the Steve Klubeck clip that we'll share with folks now. This is him with I forget her name, MSNBC Rule.
Stephanie Rule. Who's really an idiot, man. Sorry.
Well, she's a really idiot, but she's brain dead in a way that makes people like our friend here, Klubeck, comfortable, right? Mm-hmm. Like, she's only as smart as a rich person wants her to be, because this is the people that she talks to every day. And so this was Steve Klubeck. This is in the 2015 or 2015, maybe it's 2016, in the run up to the Democratic primary when Bernie Sanders was getting a little bit of shine.
Continue to say, down with the billionaires. We can't stand the rich. A lot of people want to be rich. So is it the right message that the Democrats are going with?
It's so effing wrong.
Whoa.
I've talked to Schumer. I've talked to Wyden. I've talked to Pelosi.
And said what?
And I said, if you use the term billion again, I'm done.
Why?
Because it's aspirational. I didn't start with anything. Just penalize everyone that's done well. We all want to do well. And we should be the party of doing well. We should be a party of business and leadership. And it is very, very disturbing when I hear the millionaire or billionaire word. And I've told them to stop it, knock it off. Because everyone wants to do really well. And this is the world of aspirations.
Then are you worried that the Democratic Party is going too far to the left?
So much so, it drives me nuts. So much so, it would make me quit the party. And I've made it very clear, I'll cut your money off. And others will do the same. We've had enough.
Okay,
we need a new brand.
And what is that brand? Because right now there is a...
So let's just take a little breather there. What's amazing about this is that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, like he says, I talked to Nancy, I talked to Chuck, and they're holding the line on this stuff. That's true. Like this is the brain deadedness of our politics. Is we have one sense who are called like the progressives, who are treated as if they're just some special fucking interest group, when they're the only people in fucking politics that have any real sort of policy that might actually do something to, say, address climate change, for instance, in a way that isn't cataclysmic for a society. And then we have them having to fight and be the underdogs to this sort of absolute mindlessness.
Hmm. I mean, and it's also funny too, because it's like, I mean, you might have to jog my memory, Matt, but was the rhetoric of the Democratic Party between 2016 and 2020 particularly radical?
No, right.
You know what I mean? Like the amount of like rhetoric that it takes to get these guys mad, let alone policy, is so minuscule compared to, you know, all the gifts that they've been given from the Democrats in government, and certainly from the Republicans as well.
Yeah.
That like just the rhetoric of mentioning the fact that like there are people in this country who are doing very well compared to the rest of y'all,
Yeah.
was enough to send this guy into a on-air conniption.
And this is an elite messaging problem because like this sort of thing on MSNBC, well, frankly, they shouldn't have done it. They should have done this on CNBC, where you just have like basically people with, you know, big bank accounts watching and nobody else. But like this, what was even Rule expecting out of him saying, I've said we'll stop the money if you don't stop saying billionaires? Like, that's not something you can say in public, even to a channel like Fox Business or CNBC, which again, like only goes to like wealth managers. Anyway, let's go a little bit more to Klubeck.
Is that brand? Because right now there is an opportunity. If Democrats lose, for example, in the state of Virginia, if that isn't a wake-up call that the Democratic leadership needs to get together and say, we've got to find a middle ground. Because if the Democrats continue to go far to the left, you've got that whole group in the center that aren't going to go the way of Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders. And then you're going to fracture the party even more.
It's fractured. It's broken. We need a new brand. It needs to be simple. Keep it simple. Tax reform, keep it simple. Infrastructure, no bumps in the road. What more do we have to say? They need to have a new brand created.
Is the Democratic Party in worse shape than Republicans?
They're both insane.
But at the end of the
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the beautiful mind of Klubeck. And you're right, we did. I think we even had that as a sound drop for a little while.
You know, we had
Keep
a
it
few
simple, stupid, no bumps in the road.
We had a few of those, but honestly, there was a few others that would have been just great. My favorite was "Stop It, Knock It Off." Now, I woke up this morning like just thinking of who are we going to feature today. And Klubeck came to mind. You know, we need to have start this Hall of Fame. And Klubeck, I mean, first ballot, absolutely. I had no idea what Klubeck had been up to since. But let me share this Inside Edition story to update y'all.
With more than $1 million in gifts.
He did buy me a lot of gifts every time that, he would want to take me to Chanel or anything. He would spend over $100,000
at a single time.
Mm-hmm.
When 26-year-old Stephanie Grzansky met 59-year-old Stephen Klubeck, she considered him quite a catch, despite their age difference. Klubeck is worth an estimated $100 million, a fortune he made in the timeshare industry.
I'm Stephen J. Klubeck.
Wait, could you pause it really quick, Matt?
Yep, of course.
So that's why he's pissed about the billionaire word, because it's aspirational, right?
Yes, for him.
Yeah, for him.
He's like, don't fuck this up.
He's not even there yet. Yeah.
He's looking at his taxes like, God damn it, it's never going to happen for me. There's this funny thing on YKS where they're talking about like Catholics and like, do Catholic guys, Your Kickstarter Sucks podcast for people who don't know, but like, do Catholics want to be the Pope? Like,
yeah,
like, oh shit, it's not going to happen for me. Like at what point? But like, this guy actually thought he was going to be a billionaire, which, bro, you don't got that juice. When you talk about, to the extent it's true that you started from nothing, that's why you're not going to be a billionaire.
Klubeck is worth an estimated $100 million, a fortune he made in the timeshare
Not even a tenth of the way there.
Yeah.
Industry.
I'm Stephen J. Klubeck, Chairman and CEO of Diamond Resorts.
9 years ago, he appeared on Undercover Boss.
Hi, I'm Jack.
I'm Sarah. He became obsessed with me and wanted to marry me.
But their relationship soured, and now the multimillionaire wants all his gifts back. Klubeck says he fell in love with Stephanie, but now he says he feels duped.
Little did I know that while I was working in my various homes, and my children were in the home and my employees, She was shooting porn in the bathrooms and putting it on OnlyFans.
Stephanie confirms she's a...
Now, Stephanie, we're going to let Stephanie's side of the case be aired here. I think it's, and she contends that the whole OnlyFans thing is not news to Zubek, despite what he says. And I'm inclined to believe her.
Mhm.
And we'll get to like a little bit Stephen there. It's pretty fucked up to bring your kids in to smear this woman as if she's doing something like untoward
Absolutely.
there in the
Absolutely.
same at
Yeah,
the
she's
same
working.
time. And you think you're you know the show out. Yeah. And you think you're making you think you're looking good here? This is billionaires.
I mean,
bro.
I'm just gonna tell you right now a little bit of like free PR advice to Klubeck. When Inside Edition starts calling up, you say, "I'm not talking about this,"
Yeah.
right? Because you're not gonna look good.
Yeah, don't like put your phone up on the dresser of like an RV or wherever. I can't tell exactly where he is, but here's much more Klubeck.
While I was working in my various homes and my children were in the home and my employees, she was shooting porn in the bathrooms and putting it on OnlyFans.
Stephanie confirms she's a model on the website OnlyFans, where she posts provocative photos of herself for paying subscribers. She's also big on Instagram with 1.8 million followers.
You're worth $100 million. You run a multinational corporation. How did this 25-year-old model dupe you?
Well, you know what? We had a security failure, Jim. Our security folks did not unlock.
Okay.
That's good. That's
That
awesome.
that isn't that great. We had
Honestly, the most
security
aspirational billionaire thing to do ever, right? No, I got confused. I made a mistake. The help fucked up.
Now let him continue. We had a security failure. Yeah, exactly. OPSEC, Tommy. We had a security failure.
National corporation. How did this 25-year-old model dupe you?
Well, you know what? We had a security failure, Jim. Our security folks did not unlock the pages on OnlyFans. We made a mistake. We saw the content that was extremely pornographic, which showed my assets used as backdrops.
Assets like his mansion and his jet. But Stephanie claims her boyfriend knew everything about her from the beginning.
He used to call up his friends and say, hey, Steph's outside taking photos. You know, I was taking a photo on a horse and I was naked, and he called up his neighbor to come in.
Now, like, what is? How can he act naive, bro? The fucking Black Beauty is out there, and your girlfriend's butt naked on her back. Yeah, I had no idea.
Security failure. Security failure. Yeah. Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
There's some infrastructure we got going on here. The fucking stables.
Actually loved it. It was kind of like a routine. Like every day he would tell me how much he made on stocks, and he would ask me how much I made on OnlyFans. He also let me use his private plane to shoot nude content. He loved it. He thought it was hot.
Jim, fictitious. She's reckless. She's a menace. She's a con.
Stephanie's lawyer, Arthur Barron, says by asking for all those gifts back, totaling more than $1 million, Klubeck is trying to ruin her financially.
He made it clear that he has tons of money, and he would use that money to litigate with her, to keep suing her until she went broke.
Klubeck refutes that, but one thing's for sure, sometimes breaking up is hard to do.
Stephen Klubeck says if Stephanie returns the gifts, he'll donate.
Bro, fuck off.
Dude, he needs to get on the incel racket next. Or no, not incel, manosphere.
Manosphere.
You know, breaking up's hard. Sometimes you got to make tough decisions, and he failed.
Bro, he's not even like. If I'm Elon Musk, I mean, there's the League of Extraordinarily Divorced Gentlemen is one stronger. Klubeck, honestly, with Bolsonaro going to Mar-a-Lago, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, Klubeck's not really up to that scale, though. And so it's like, you look so much worse than your OnlyFans model. They're trying to claw back what? Taking pictures with my assets? Yeah, bro. That's how she got your attention.
Exactly.
What do you I'm shocked. There's some reference that should go here. I'm shocked. There's like prostitution going on in this brothel. I can't remember if someone can remember what classic movie I'm thinking of there, but like, yeah, man, and to act like and let me just say, like, I read the New York Post story. Fucked up. This guy like texts her shit like, "You're a wicked whore," and "I'm your worst nightmare," and stuff like that. Like, he's a fucking psycho, and good luck to her, and congrats on making this dumb asshole spill
Hall of
out for
Fame.
a while.
And Hall of Fame now.
Exactly, this
Officially,
Hall of Famer.
Klubeck is Hall of Fame, Left Reckoning, bum steer of the year.
The Democrat donor. That's centrism for you. Right?
Yeah, no, and I think that's something we need to keep reminding folks of. Major Democratic Party donor. That's that party for you.
Exactly.
Timeshare millionaire who likes to play billionaire
OnlyFans harassers. Yeah.
OnlyFans harasser. That's who Pelosi and Schumer are picking up the phone for. Not you.
When these 100 millionaires talk about how they work, 100 hours a week, it's because they're harassing OnlyFans models and bribing Nancy Pelosi the rest of the time.
Oh, Lord, help us all. Well, there we go. And then, again, reminding folks, this is more of a stream, so we will be, if you have anything you want to see on the screen and put in the chat, we will try to bring things up, including questions and comments on topic. But Matt, are we ready to start this adventure?
Let's embark.
I think I don't want to make the club not prestigious, but I do think, looking back at last year's with Jayapal, I do think we'll get into this when we get into the figures for this year's commendation. But one thing that's been hard for me about deciding on the finalists and then also who's going to be the ultimate winner is like the longevity of some of these folks, right? You don't want to put them as the winner and then next year it's like, okay, they're back again, still causing trouble. And when it comes to Jayapal, I think that a lot of these problems are still in play, if I'm right.
Yeah.
And I think we could maybe give Jayapal and maybe at large the Progressive Caucus in general a kind of permanent condemnation for their actions in 2022.
Well, if people will rewind about a month or so ago, whatever time is, with this rail thing, and all of a sudden AOC and a few other people were tweeting out, no deal without sick pays or whatever. Conspicuous was Jayapal, and that I think was an indicator, looking back, that which way that was going to go. And I think that moment, we can't have this special without talking about that moment, because that was a dire failure and a failed test. Biden himself, to start with, like a guy who had a strong vote on that, a similar situation in the 90s. When it actually push came to shove, he was nowhere to be found in actually like whipping for what was right there. And then to our more progressive allies, like we know what, and I'm thankful Tlaib at least did it, even if it was the revolving cast of heroes, as people point out, which I understand, like the cynicism, but
wait, I'm not trying to get into a fight on this. I really don't get that argument at all, because like, look,
right,
if you, and I'm not saying you're making this, but like the argument that like they're getting together and are sort of like picking one person, like, oh, you could be the good one this time, the rest of us will be bad. I think it's far more likely. I mean, just going back to the rail vote, just really quick for people who aren't familiar. The railroad companies understood that no matter what, at the end of the day, the United States Congress, the United States government was going to deny these workers their fundamental rights to strike. They understood that. That's why this contract fight has gone on so long. They knew that, be it Biden or be it Trump, somebody's going to come in and save their asses, right? it's despicable, and I still hold true to everything that I said in the immediate aftermath. That I don't think
Yeah.
anyone who calls themselves a socialist should ever say, "I'm going to vote against people's rights to strike." I just think
Right.
it's as simple as that. The
Yeah.
politics are one thing, simple as that. If your role in politics, particularly being in the vast minority in terms of elected officials, is to be continuing to build understanding, awareness of what democratic socialist politics represent, you can't be sitting here saying we're going to line up
Precisely.
with the majority and saying you guys don't get the right to strike, right?
Exactly.
Debates about, okay, what was come from the unions, blah, blah, blah. Drop in all that. The rotating cast of characters argument that people make, I'm sorry, it's just so much more likely to me, friends, that they got bad politics, that
Yeah.
AOC has bad political instincts, that Bowman has bad political instincts, that Ilhan Omar has bad political instincts on these kind of things, versus some vast conspiracy to try to keep you hooked. It comes from media poison, I think, on a lot of people on the left side, where they really can only view politics in the sense of like theater performance that they're watching, instead of what it actually is like a complicated matrix of power, where a lot of people don't have the courage or the institutions or the capability or the capacity or the willingness to come and make those kind of fights. So anyway, I'm not trying to say you were saying that, but like the argument that like they're all getting together and on a phone call and they're like, all right, Talib, you're due for like a pat on the back from the progressive online media.
Right.
Wrong-headed in my opinion.
Exactly. It's silly. And I mean, my whole thing is it doesn't even matter anyway, because one, it's like, I'm glad to have that principle sort of elaborated by a member of Congress, because I think it shows the rest of them where they should have been. And it's very simple to say like if you were hypothetically cornered in an elevator with Ilhan, you could just say, I wish you voted like Rashida. And you don't need to say anything more than that. And then, we have the other conversation, which I feel is one that's harder to have, which is like with the unions themselves and the union leaders, because it's very clear that the squad, I think, was felt comfortable doing so because they had ex-union leader talk to me and said this, and we did this, right? All that basically Ryan Grimm's reported. And that's a problem within unions that I think, is one that's harder to speak to as a YouTuber, frankly. I think that's something that has to be dealt with by the rank and file. But I think it is important to point out when rank and file is different, that differs from leadership.
And I think that's true. And again, like going on to like the kind of projects and things we got to build on the left, the fact is from everything that I understand, that Rashida Tlaib is much closer to like DSA membership than the other elected officials are. And I think that that's why she votes the way that she does on these kind of things, versus other people who sometimes they stand with, DSA politics, but I think more broadly, they stand with like the progressive movement, quote unquote, which I think, as we've seen, is something that is like, we're certainly allied with and have a lot of particularly like short-term similarities with. But when push comes to shove, there's people who are fighting for nicer capitalism. There's people who are fighting to end capitalism. Right. And, I'm happy to see Rashida, show up more on the TSA Democratic Socialist side than some of the other progressive folks. But even talking about the squad, as I think we're getting to, Matt, I think misses one of the fundamental factors of politics, is that movement is very much embedded in a larger one in Democratic Party politics right now, which is the Progressive Caucus, which is run by Jayapal. Yeah. And I think we talked in 2022 how the second that they started accepting the Biden administration's rationale for separating votes, that they were basically setting themselves up to lose. 2022, did I say 2022 a second ago? I meant 2021. In 2022, we saw that happen time and time again, how the promises that the Progressive Caucus sort of thinking they're playing, five-dimensional chess, it became very clear that they were just getting played over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you said, this rail thing was basically a repeat of that.
Rail, you saw it with the Inflation Reduction Act. We're seeing it again with student loans. That political coalition has shown themselves to be incredibly weak, despite the fact that they have significant numbers. I'm not talking about the squad DSA people. I'm talking about the quote unquote Progressive Caucus, which again is like one of those terminologies, and it's such a big tent. it's sort of difficult to understand what anyone means, but they're not acting like even like a progressive bloc against the centrists in the Democratic Party at this time. And, again, going back to like people who you could certainly throw in the ring for bum steer of the year, Matt, Kristen Sinema, a Manchin. I will say again, because this is a fuck around holiday
But
special.
no one's
We don't have
taking
the
their-
most rigorous rules for what the bum steer of the year is, Matt, in fairness.
Right.
But like for like we know what Manchin is. We know what cinema is. And sometimes like they become very, very helpful kind of foils for the failure that is like the Democratic Party under Joe Biden today, to say, oh, it's Manchin, he's doing obstruction again. Oh, it's Sinema, she's doing obstruction again. It's your party, man. You run this shit. Y'all showed that you ran this shit when Bernie Sanders ran both 2016 and 2020. And now you'll got to deal with the responsibilities for your inaction on these kind of things. You can't just point to Colbert and Manchin or ex-radical Kristen Sinema, which, by the way, we should definitely do a show on her
book,
dissertation.
Yeah, exactly. That's if you're increasingly less popular, you're not steering anybody. You've gone off on one for a bag, basically, like, or for whatever. But like, you're not. That's not the, like you said, like that's not damage being done to like people's understanding of the world. They just need to know that those are corrupt politicians. Like that lesson over.
So I think we're giving Jayapal a kind of a legacy bum steer of the year. She's not.
You know what it is?
Yeah,
we have a situation in the NBA now where Nikola Jokic, the center of the Denver Nuggets, is probably by all advanced metrics, unless you count defense, you can make a case for Giannis, but MVP caliber season he's got going on right now. But he's won the previous two. And you can't really give it to him 3 times in a row unless he wins a championship or something like that. That's the thing with Jayapal. Like she won it last year. Doing it 2 times in a row, like we do want to, it's important to say, but you need a little bit more juice to get it consecutively. Anyway, basketball fans.
Well, let's get to another one of our nominations, and that is President Joe Biden. And despite what Tony says, neither once of these guys explain how they get the laws passed that they want with the Congresses we have. All they accomplish is making more leftists hate Democrats. And I'll say, first of all, more leftists should, because the Democratic Party is a party of the wealthy and the elite. And just like when we had a representative on, for example, from the Debt Collective, the kind of constant drama that you see in Congress is not a reflection of the Democrats just losing at politics because the system is too hard. It's because of their very clear unwillingness. So when it comes to student debt, that's something that Joe Biden could cancel today. Even still, with all the stuff, and the legal mechanism that he used was one that they recognized when they were going into the process of canceling student debt, was one that was going to be challenged. Right. Joe Biden has the legal authority to cancel student debt. He did back in August. He does today. He doesn't. That is a actual choice of the Biden administration, not one of, oh, the math in the Congress looks this way or that way. Right. These are deliberate choices of the Biden administration and the ruling party in government in the United States of America. And that's the Democratic Party. And people should be held accountable for their actions. I think it's perfectly fair, for example, to say, like, I don't blame Rashida or AOC, for example, that the contract was forced on the rail workers. I do blame AOC and Bowman and the rest of them for not making a bigger fight and not recognizing that by voting for this kind of thing, you are complicit in participating in the same kind of system as your Republican colleagues and your Democratic Party colleagues. And that should be the point when you don't have the numbers, is making it very clear to the American people what side people are on. And the Biden administration has time and time again showed themselves to be very, very weak in their commitment to any of these kind of more progressive policies that they ran on. So if it's the student loan fiasco, right, which is, again, something that Biden could deal with tomorrow, they refuse to do it. Right. And if you want more information on that, the breakdown of the legal mechanisms there, you can go and watch our episode where we had a representative from the Debt Collective on to talk about it. These are deliberate choices by the people in power in this country. And I'm not going to give somebody a fucking free pass when people are struggling in this country. I don't know why you think we should be doing that. So from Biden getting played on the student loans, and not even getting played because they knew what they were doing. They knew they could hold up the shiny thing, let it sort of falter. For their weakness, I mean, I'll tell you one thing, Matt. When when this abortion decision went through the Supreme Court, I thought we were about to be gearing up for a fight in this country. Where has that been? When you think about a state like Texas, my home state where I live, one of the largest states in the country, where abortion is effectively outlawed, and the Democrats don't have any kind of nuts to fight back and to push back on this kind of thing, it's truly despicable. From a political level, they were very happy to try to ride that wave to maybe do well in Pennsylvania and in other states in this country. But where was their investment or interest in a state like Texas in trying to fight and claw back on these kind of things? Not only did Beto lose, but there was a very clear lack of care in trying to run and win statewide and like local level office in a state like Texas. If when Biden goes up and he says, I believe a woman has the right to choose and we will fight tooth and nail for that. Where was the investment? Where was the fight from the Democratic Party in a state like Texas to make sure that that's the kind of thing, right? Again, it's rhetoric over politics for the Democratic Party. And that's why we're in the mess that we're in, because politics is cyclical. And if this is what happens after the most important election of our life, as 2020 was, as 2016 was, as I'm sure 2024 will be, claimed to be again, you just let the right just run up wins with minority governments, with a willingness to do whatever they can, and you see timidness from the Democratic Party. I mean, it's despicable. You look at the Inflation Reduction Act. We're something that is as far away from a policy like the Green New Deal that we could have in this country. Something that not only shows a lack of commitment to decarbonization from the Democratic Party, but a lack of willingness to actually even just do state policy on any kind of level. If you remember, the Inflation Reduction Act was primarily an incentive bill, right? As far away as you could get from a FDR, LBJ version of Democratic Party politics, saying, well, if we get the price right, if we get the tax incentives right, we're going to get the things that we want. And you see something like the Inflation Reduction Act, which people were praising as like this grand opening in politics for dealing with climate change. The real worry is that that's something that sort of deflates any kind of serious environmental movement in this country. Again, this is not the numbers in Congress. This is political strategy from the Democratic Party. This is willingness of the Biden administration and the people who run that party, who have made that party as hostile to working class and more democratic in the larger sense, not in the stupid Democratic Party sense, but in the sense of like bringing power back to the people. You've seen a party that's trying to close, like a legitimate question in the 2020 Democratic Party presidential primary, Matt, was whether or not you will respect the outcomes of that vote, right? They said, this is a private corporation. We can do whatever we want. Fine. Then own your shit. Own what your politics end up being. And their politics end up being this kind of feckless, half-assed bullshit that is one foot on the gas pedal towards, very serious collapse and more devastation for working people in this country.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any point to depress, say, voter turnout, which is what this anxiety is all about when people say this stuff. Like, oh, you didn't depress turnout. Like, first of all, there's no evidence that that's happening. But two, like, because like you look at all these things do rebound to the fucking Democrats' benefit, whether it's the George Floyd protests or the abortion thing. And the problem is like, okay, people are just going to be descriptively accurate about what it actually means. And look, I do think that generically speaking, with some major asterisks that are definitely worth keeping an eye on, Democrats in power will lead to better policy outcomes than Republicans. But that said, I do think the major reason that I would sell somebody for preferring that, like say, hey, does my vote matter in the swing district? Should I go out and vote for a Democrat? Like, I think it's better to have Democrats in power, because I think when they do make decisions that are for the bosses, it's clear and they can't just blame the fucking Republicans on it.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, I hear your logic, but I will just say, that thesis also only makes sense if people in the movement, and particularly like progressive left-wing media, is willing to make that kind of criticism, which you see more and more people are afraid of doing that.
That's why the rail thing was so problematic, because it became PR and but I mean, even that's that image, like, that's something we're gonna have to fucking deal with, honestly, is the progressive wing and union leadership, and how well, like, that we were like, any movement that we're ever gonna go through, you run this simulation of 100 times, that's like a fucking tension that we were going to have to run up on, and it's probably one we're going to have to run up on again and again until like basically Jonah Furman reports that all these motherfucking leaders have been voted out, and they're all like Leninists now, and
Yeah.
right. So it's like that's, but yeah, I just, bro, like, just be happy that you turned back the fucking midterms. Like, and if that's all your activism is like supporting the fucking bullshit justifications for breaking strikes, because in the interest of like the future electoral power, like, this place isn't for you, really.
Jonathan says, and I appreciate the super chat. He says, why not have a second award called the Jaipal of the Year, that is only eligible to bum steers who should be allies to workers but fall short? It's a good idea. We might do that next year. Yeah, we can include more folks. So Biden's a candidate, I think, for what we just said, and I think for most of our coverage since the beginning of Left Reckoning. Should we do another honorable mention? Somebody who I think isn't going to win it this year. Who I feel like you have to bring up now, because hopefully this is the last chapter. And that is Mr. Jair Bolsonaro, who lost to Lula da Silva in Brazil and is now on his way to the United States. You have to be silent really quick, Matt, so that we don't get feedback. But I don't know if you've seen this. This is Bolsonaro's send-off, and he's standing by his lady, who's not having a good time with the end of Bolsonaro's tenure.
Seu menino já tá comentando. Pode arrumar as malas. Madeirada. Tá na hora do Jair. Tá na hora do Jair. Eu quero Jair ir embora. Arruma suas malas. Tá no pé e vá-se embora.
So our boy's done. He's on his way to the U.S., and I think a few things are really important to remember. That he's now lost his presidential immunity, and there are a lot of very serious questions about illegal and anti-human activities that he took while he was the president of Brazil. So the Bolsonaro fans and members of his family, members of his party, are very, and I think rightfully, worried about having to have some kind of punishment or investigation into their horrific activities after they took advantage of the U.S. backed operations to put Lula da Silva in prison, that then handed the presidency to Jair Bolsonaro.
And so he flew to Miami, to Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago's in Miami, right?
No, it's not.
No, where's it at?
It's near Palm Beach, West Palm Beach.
Right, I don't know why I was thinking Miami. Well, Miami, I mean, would be another place for, somebody to, like him to of his profile to seek exile, I guess. But yeah, that's another sort of elite divorced guy.
Very powerful.
We all know Trump is really divorced, but like it's just appearances that
Trump's is like permanently divorced. Yeah, Trump is a permanently divorced man.
Yeah, he's permanently.
His marital status doesn't matter. He's got divorced guy energy all the way through.
Him. We got Elon. We got Kanye. DeSantis not divorced, which that may.
Oh, really?
You might need to get divorced if you're going to be a leader in this movement.
So we'll be certainly watching Jair's trip to the United States, see how he does here. And I mean, fucking good riddance. I mean, that'd be a name I'd be really happy to learn to forget.
Oh, it does remind me of one of my more viral tweets I've ever pulled off. Was just a dumb half-second thought quote tweet of the news that he was sick again, or I was thinking about moving, basically doing this move, and saying like he'll be bankrupt by the end of the first month. And I mean, what's he gonna do? We'll see what
I
that
think he's hoping
international
that Trump's
right.
gonna like they threw all their goddamn eggs in the Trump basket. Trump is not somebody who rewards you. Trump is somebody who punishes you at best.
That's what
right?
I'm worried about a little bit. Like,
You're
yeah, we
worried
got
for
a
our
place
boy
for
Jair.
you. We got a place for you. It's nice. Actually, there's a Trump property up in Jersey. That's the one that's like scheduled for demolition. Jair's like on the penthouse, and all of a sudden the wrecking balls start hitting.
And I have seen this too. I saw this from Ben Fogel, who said, "Oh, sorry, wrong one."
I was confused.
That it looks like Jair flew to the United States without his wife. And if people remember, after he lost, they unfollowed each other on Instagram. So we'll see. I don't know if divorce is official or anything like that yet, but very soon to be joining in the divorced man code. What's the name? I like the name you have so much that I can never remember it.
Oh, the League of Extraordinarily Divorced Gentlemen.
Yes. So he'll be the newest member of that coalition soon, and hopefully also we might have some live footage from Lula's inauguration, which would be really awesome. So I realized, Matt, we didn't do anything positive. We didn't have like we don't have a good award for folks, but I would say I think Lula is definitely top for that. Mick Lynch is certainly somebody who I'm putting in that top spot. And we'll be covering that as we go on. But going down our list of other candidates for Bum Steer of the Year, Matt, do you mind if I, we take a visit to my neck of the woods?
Yeah, Dave's got his hometown pick here.
My hometown pick. I'm rooting for. I'm rooting for him, and that is Texas Governor Greg Abbott. If people want more history on Greg Abbott, I did a really long piece for Jacobin called Greg Abbott is Texas's most powerful governor in its history. That's a bad thing for workers, where I sort of break down his political history and why his continued victories in the state have been so devastating for workers. But the Bum Steer of the Year is not an award that takes in everything that people have done in their life. It's very much about what their 2022 was. And boy, did Greg Abbott have a 2022. Greg Abbott has made a tremendous effort to kneecap this state. One of the more egregious things he's done has been something called Operation Lone Star, which has been a complete quagmire from start to finish. Not only in the sense of the fact that it's been an incredibly wasteful mobilization of National Guard to the border to harass people, to create all of these kind of bizarre ass situations. But also one that has led to the deaths of not only people crossing the border, but also to National Guardsmen themselves. People have drowned in the Rio Grande. National Guardsmen, trigger warning for folks talking about suicide here, but there's been a significant uptick in suicides from National Guardsmen because when they're put on the border, they get paid less than if they were called up by the federal government, which means they're barely making any money for being there. They're pulled out. And, if you're a National Guardsman, you have a civilian job. So you're pulled out of your typical income earning stream, which means your family's getting poor. You don't get, the same kind of privileges that you would if you were pulled up for a federal deployment, or if you were, for example, pulled, an active duty member of like the Army or the Navy, Marines, etc. Including in the fact that you have to mention this, just knowing that people have been dying. Guardsmen have been dying on the border, doing nothing, by the way, other than just being props for Abbott to sort of show up on Fox News. If they're killed in action, they don't get the same kind of benefits as they would be if they were killed in action. Again, if they were pulled up by the federal government, or just like what a service member would get if they were killed in action abroad. The family has to file what is effectively like a state level workers' comp claim And I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but the payment they get is a minuscule part of their yearly salary, which, as I was just saying, because it's a state level operation, is significantly less than what it would be like if it was federal. So just awful, right? And I just bring that up because it's like the thing about Abbott that really pisses me off is like it's obvious why I don't like him. But even if I was a kind of, alter ego David, big P guy, I would be pissed too, because you're sending people to the border, and your failures are leading to their deaths, and you're not even taking care of them after the fact. They talk a lot about how he's there to shut down the spread of fentanyl in the state of Texas. You don't hear about any of that kind of shit because it's been even by the standards that they're putting it up for, is what I'm saying. It's like it's been a complete failure. You also had earlier this year the border shutdown, where Greg Abbott shut down trade with Mexico, which you don't have to be an economist or somebody who studies things very well to understand why that's exceptionally devastating to any part of the country, but particularly to a state like Texas, which shares a significant border with that country that includes a lot of trade, not just in products that are made in Mexico in like the traditional sense, but also because of trade deals with Mexico. We have all these products that are technically considered to be made in America when it comes to taxes, that are actually built right over the border. All of that gets shut down. A significant amount of our food gets shut down. Something he shut down trade with Mexico for about 4 or 5 days, and the cost of the state of Texas alone was in the realm of billions. Other things people might remember from 2021, Greg Abbott said about the fact that there's no rape or incest provisions in Texas' extremely horrific anti-abortion law. If people remember, Greg Abbott went up and he said, rape is a crime in Texas. And in Texas, we will prosecute and eliminate rape in the state of Texas. So he had a year, that was in 2021, to deal with that. And let's see how that's going. Not well. This is from the Austin American Statesman fact check. Does Texas have the highest number of rape offenses in the nation? And I will just read from the piece. Texas has a higher rate of rape offenses compared to California. The rate per 100,000 people was 34.2% of rape offenses in California, compared to 46 offenses per 100,000 people in Texas. The clearance rate for rape offenses was 20.3% in 2020 and 38.1% in 2015 when Abbott took office, which is significant. So not only has Abbott not been increasing the amount of people who are going to jail and being prosecuted for the crime of rape in the state of Texas, it's gone down. So on eliminating rape in the state of Texas, nothing. People probably remember this on Uvalde.
But the reality is, as horrible as what happened, it could have been worse. The reason it was not worse is because law enforcement officials did what they do. They showed amazing courage by running toward gunfire for the singular purpose of trying to save lives. And it is a fact that because of their quick response, getting on the scene, being able to respond to the gunman and eliminate the gunman, they were able to save lives.
After tremendous
That's
amounts
news to me.
Yeah. I mean, after tremendous amounts of investigation, it didn't take that long for it to become very clear. No. Basically what happened in Uvalde was about as bad as it can get, because there was no significant operation from law enforcement officials there to stop the gunman. In fact, we've seen them hanging around, texting, fucking around in the hallways as children were being shot. The accountability there has been minuscule. Abbott has been a coward in speaking about this publicly. I mean, more shit is dropping every day, man. I don't know if you saw just like last week. It turns out that not only was the law enforcement response not sufficient enough to stop the killings, because they were so incapable of handling a situation like that. It seems that first responders in the terms of EMS weren't able to get there to provide medical treatment to those people who were shot and had a potential chance of surviving. That death is on that, is on that failure, and it goes all the way up to Abbott. Because if you look at the response from the law enforcement officials in the state of Texas, the systems they had in place were antiquated. We're not responsive enough to deal with a crisis like this. Not even talking about gun laws in the state of Texas, just talking about how law enforcement operates here. The fact is that if you're a law enforcement official in the state of Texas, you have an expectation that the state government here is not going to be in your business. It's going to let you do whatever the fuck you want. And that kind of lack of accountability has significant consequences on the ground in situations like that, right? So we could talk about individuals, but that starts with the complete absence of the state government here to dealing with our very, very clear crisis in law enforcement in the state of Texas. Uvalde, shining achievement of the Abbott administration, and a really good one to maybe have him win the award. On top of this, and sorry, you had something you wanted to add to the.
Well, one thing we've done our for patrons will know we've done our Tucker Carlson original series. He profiled Uvalde before the shooting. I
didn't.
We'll have to go into that. Yeah, I haven't watched that one yet, but it was, look at how great this is, the future of a sort of a police force that's protecting us against the hordes of migrants, sort of thing. Pretty disgusting, pretty wild coincidence too.
And this is my governor just the other day on Christmas, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas. As he was doing that, he was sending confused immigrants to the house of Kamala Harris, a stunt that he has been doing all across the country. The only one who's sort of elbowing him in on that spot is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Yeah. Just somebody who has such an incredible capacity for cruelty that he's even unique amongst Republicans. And 2022, I think, has been a breakout year for Governor Greg Abbott. If it's the border, if it's the lack of care about Uvalde. Oh yeah, let's not forget this about fucking Greg Abbott, Matt. When Uvalde happened, you know where Greg Abbott was? Fundraiser.
Well,
his favorite thing in the world to do. Look, you can say, oh, well, he didn't know, blah, blah, blah. He knew. In fact, they got information that the Uvalde shooting has happened, and Abbott got in the car and immediately started driving to another fucking fundraising event. That's the kind of fellow that this is. And the thing about Abbott is, like, again, it's not too surprising that I'm not a big fan of his, but even if I were to be on the right or a Republican, I cannot for the life of me understand how anybody thinks this is somebody who you should sort of throw your hat behind.
Yeah, even your cowboy hat.
Yeah. So a very good candidate for Bum Steer of the Year, I think, is Mr. Greg Abbott.
There you go. So we have kind of two, but I think we should sort of combine them into one, with our boy being the sort of exemplar, if that's all right, David, if that makes sense to you.
That works.
So we have basically, I called them crypto bros, but I want to take it a little bit easy on crypto. This is about Silicon Valley bros in general. And as a sort of main, sort of the pimple on society that main exemplifies that problem is Elon Musk. Mm-hmm. So what I like to call broadly the speculators of the future, the people who we've been entrusted for some reason to author the sort of priorities of technology. And they've come up with dumbass tunnels with fancy lights.
Go to nowhere.
Tunneling things that, as far as I know, other continents do much better. Broken Twitter. I mean, look, like mobile seems to be working now. I'm not sure if I'm able to log in. Hopefully that's
Twitter. Yeah,
on Twitter. But like the venture capitalist assholes in general. I think Elon Musk. I didn't want to give it to just Elon, because I think Elon is just, we're going to have Elons as long as we decide that this is how we decide again, like the technological priorities of society.
Well, I agree that we don't want to give it to Elon just yet, just because I don't think he's done. And I think that is something that you have to include with all this kind of stuff. But if you're down, Matt, can we sort of take through the myth of Elon? Because the myth of Elon, I think, has been through a bit of a I don't know, fact check.
Yeah, acid test.
Acid test. I like that better. To see how true that is. And I think better than anyone else, one of the chief mythologists of the right, Jordan Peterson, should introduce the illustrious potential bum steer of the year, Elon Musk, to us. I don't know if you have that first Tesla thing ready, but if this sounds good to you, Matt, I think we might just pause it as they go through and take a little bit of time with each of these examples.
Oh, yes.
But I'm going to start here with Jordan Peterson talking about Mr. Musk.
It isn't obvious to me that I'm in any position to evaluate Elon Musk. Like, I would like to talk to him and find out what he's up to and why. But, I mean, he's an impossible person. What he's done is impossible. All of it. He built an electric car that works. Now, does it work completely, and will it replace gas cars, or should it? I don't know. If we're going to build electric cars, he seems to be the best at that.
That's a little bit of like playing the fence.
I 100%.
And it's fascinating because it's like, yeah, Elon, the climate change take seriously from like 2012 or whenever people like, but this thing where fundamentally, and why you can't trust Jordan Peterson as a truth teller is he's not going to really insult Elon there, right? Like he's dancing around it. Oh, he's an interesting guy. Like you say, he's going to elaborate the myth of the guy, but he also has that little thing of like,
oh, he can't say he's for electric cars. Exactly. Yeah. He's got to be coy about it. But let's just bring this really quick to the end of the electric car thing.
If we're going to build electric cars, he seems to be the best at that by a lot. And he more or less did that. People carp about him, but he more or less did that by himself. I know he's very good at distributing responsibility and all of that, but
okay. So we got some goodies in here. Let's just, like, before we get into anything else, let's just start with the distributing responsibility, right? Because Elon Musk has become a very unwelcome member of my community here. He's moved out here to Austin, and he built his big, ugly truck factory in Del Valley. And if people remember, if they've seen the show, we've been covering the fact that there have been significant allegations of extreme worker abuse at his factories, and from things like unpaid wages to unsafe conditions to things like giving people fake OSHA certifications, which again might not sound like much to folks who don't know about that world. Really fucking dangerous shit. But again, going back to what Peterson said though, Matt, he likes to distribute responsibility, right? And that's the whole thing, is because of course the companies that were doing this were contractors. Right.
Yeah.
So Musk is not responsible. So yeah, Musk is very good at distributing responsibility for that kind of thing. More or less did it by himself, as our friend in Australia notes, is absolutely ludicrous. And the first bit we can't let Peterson get away with is that Musk invented electric cars that work. That's never been the problem with electric cars. We've had electric cars that have worked for decades.
General Motors made a popular one in the 90s that was pretty good.
And the last bit, so he didn't invent the electric car that worked, and he seems to be the best at it. Matt, is that true? How is Tesla doing these days?
Well, I must say, I do love, and part of why, I think the main motive why a guy like Elon buys Twitter is that it is a very useful platform for publicizing his fucked up cars. And he couldn't buy TikTok, or he hasn't yet. But I do love that it's a genre of content that these things fuck up all the time. And here's one by a fellow named Dominati Show. This content looks like it is like a radio show, but he has a Tesla. And just check out the problem he's having on Christmas Eve.
Tesla S will not charge in the cold. Stranded on Christmas
19
Eve.
miles left before the battery is dead. Yesterday I tried this and it said to wait for the battery to warm up. I have had the car running with the climate control. I tried to charge in my house. It won't let me. So there is no way to charge this battery or let it warm up in the cold. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to show you. This is the message I get. Battery is heating. Keep charge cable inserted. Okay.
Nice.
It's 1:11. 1 hour later.
I mean, could you imagine? I mean, I would.
Keep charge cable inserted. 19 miles. 3:03. Almost 2 hours later. Battery is heating.
Yeah.
19 miles. And it's Christmas Eve. It is.
And as good folks at a Common Sense Skeptic say, Tesla is consistently at the bottom of initial quality surveys. No, they don't do cars well, and we're seeing that. We're seeing that more and more. These days.
That's my favorite theory. Sorry to cut you off, but my favorite theory about why Elon is fucking flying off the handle the past year or whatever. Not that he wasn't a big time loser freak before that, but more flagrantly so, is because he reads the fucking writing on the wall, which the big boys are coming to eat, and his little fancy boutique tech operation that was selling to investors shit's over. All the money allows bullshit to defy gravity, but only so long.
Can you get this this stock price for Tesla up really quick, Matt?
Yes.
Because the thing is, by the way, the Tesla not working was one of those things. Literally 20 minutes before we went live, I said to Matt, could you find a good Tesla fail video? What I'm saying is this is not the one. There's a plethora of them, from things like a leaf getting stuck in your moon door on the top of the vehicle, cracking the wind, to another one that I saw earlier today about somebody whose battery has died, and he's trying to sell the Tesla because he doesn't want it anymore because he realizes it's a shit car. But the new Tesla battery, something is upwards of $20,000 or something insane like that, and not only can he not get it started, all of his registration information, etc., is on the computer of the Tesla car, right? Which is one of those things we figured that out a long time ago, printing it out, giving it to folks.
Gutenberg, baby.
These are bad vehicles. They've been bad vehicles for a long time. And the fact is with Tesla is that there's two things. One, they were willing to make high-end luxury cars for people who want to spend a lot of money on an electric vehicle before affordable ones were sort of brought out to market. The problem for Tesla is that there is more demand for electric cars. There's just not a lot of demand for Teslas. So as more and more of the kind of big motor companies have been interested in turning towards electric vehicles, Tesla has been in a lot of trouble. And as you see here, if you have this image, the Tesla company ain't doing super well. Matt, if you want to just to give a clear picture, why don't you put the year to date or 6 month or something so people can see?
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing, right?
Even 5 days is bad, but let's see what it looks like.
But that's what's so fun is folks, we have the 5-day Tesla stock down 26 points. And that's the thing is a Tesla family, zoom out a little bit. Okay, well, let's zoom out to 1 month. Once again, down 68 points, almost 69. That'd be nice, right, Elon? Let's zoom out even more to 6 months. And once again, down 115 points. Now, it was at a high of 303. So we're down from that. I mean, quite a ways.
I mean, that's a significant loss. And why, though, has it been hit so hard? Well, it's been because of his antics.
Hold on. We have to do year to date. You see actually what you're about to elaborate, which is that one, it's down. And this is why I said, he sees the writing on the wall, because probably other investors realize the thing that me, a person who doesn't own stock, can see about the future of this company, which is that the actual big boys are coming and it's never going to pay out like this. So yeah, for this entire year, let's go 1 year average. Let's go 5 year, just to see where it peaked, which is in November 2021. But if you go to this, you can see right here, this is around the time the CEO started doing things on Twitter. Isn't that correct?
Yes, and like so, you know,
This is the original one. Oh, up here.
yeah.
Over here
So
was
that's
the
when
original
the
plan.
announcement that they got the deal, and then this is when he takes over.
This is when
And
it's limbo. This is when he's like said he'll buy it, and then people were saying, oh, he's not actually going to fall through with it. He's looking for a way to get out of it, and then it looks like it was recovering, and then he's like, yes, I'm actually going to buy it, and now we're just created.
So let's just say a couple quick things. One, Matt, you're 100% right in the fact that I think a lot of investors are recognizing the fact that the other car companies are able to produce more and better cars. And I think one thing I always remind folks is like Tesla don't produce very many cars, and that was a car company that for a while was the highest valued car company in the world, right? Sort of insane if you think about it, that car companies that produce more cars in a month than Tesla does in a year are valued less than them. But that's American speculative capital. What that means is that the whole promise of Tesla is that you're buying the future, right? You're buying into brain genius Elon Musk, and he's going to be able to innovate his way out of these things. Which as you've seen, like the market fundamentals in the sense of like how many cars Tesla produces, the quality of the cars, all that kind of stuff low, right? But then there's always, oh, he'll figure it out. But then as more and more people have been introduced to Elon Musk in a very public way since he's taken over Twitter, I think a lot of the shine on the idea that Elon Musk is a kind of character, who is going to be able to get himself out of these problems has been limited. But anyways, man, we're being unfair. I mean, the man is a brain genius. He's got his fingers in a lot of pies. So let's just take a little, let's look at some of the other stuff really quick.
Spearhead. And then that was pretty hard. And then he built a rocket at like 1/10 the price of NASA rockets. And then he shot his car out into space.
NASA?
That's pretty hard. And then he's...
So let's see how those are doing.
Done that with Falcon 9 before. If you were on NSF Live with us yesterday... Oh, hey! Whoa!
Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
Excellent.
It's better than NASA could do.
And let's not also forget that not only is we're seeing cheapness and runarounds and all this kind of BS from the actual product. What he's doing to South Texas has been absolutely despicable. Completely trashing a part of the country that I find to be absolutely beautiful. Lobbying state and local governments. We had Becca Hinojosa on the show, who was personally targeted by Musk and the mayor of her hometown for making the point that, hey, Starbase and all of the shit that they've brought in the community is not welcome or wanted, allegedly. They arrested her, pulled her out of her house in the early hours of the morning, refused to give her eyeglasses, any kind of understanding as to what was going on, being a real tyrant and a terror in that part of the state. A part of the state, for people who aren't familiar with Texas, very poor historically, very underinvested in historically. And Musk has said, I think I can get away with coming to Texas where they're just going to let me do whatever the fuck I want. And I think this should matter to all people, but I think it should matter especially to Texans. Is like, this guy didn't come here because he likes the rodeo and he likes cowboy boots and cowboy hats and all the kind of shit that he tries to play up when he does this cyber rodeo, which was one of the fucking darkest events I've ever seen in my life. He came.
How do you see the cyber rodeo and hold on to your stock?
I think that's true. Well, yeah, I mean, I probably would have sold a long time before then, but the thing is, he came here because he thinks Texans are chumps. He thinks he can get away with shit that he couldn't get away with in California. So if you're in Texas, there's always obviously a lot of talk here about don't California my Texas. California's ruining the state. Well, why the fuck do you want to uphold somebody like this, who is literally burning down wildlife for his vanity projects that don't work, and using the power of the state so much for small government, libertarian Texas, to harass activists and people who challenged him. But I mean, I know we have more to get to with Musk, but just in the sake of like making this a segment, Matt, let's get to the rest of this.
Building this boring company, it's this whimsical joke in some sense, but it's not a joke. He's amazing.
It is a joke. Elon Musk has been pushing this idea of the boring company, where they're literally going to create tunnels underneath major cities so that you can get around without having to deal with traffic. As of yet, the only tunnel that has been opened is one that is frequently closed, and it's less than a mile in Las Vegas. That you go about 20 miles an hour with blazing lights being played to give you the simulation effect if you're flying through the air, but you're going about 15 miles an hour in a Tesla.
No, it is just like the star level in Mario Kart with all the lights. Yeah.
And from Vegas to LA to Kyle, Texas, to Austin, to all these other places where he has tried to push this. Well, whenever it comes into feasibility studies, the Boring Company disappears. They disappear because he goes to these small towns like Kyle, and he says, I'm going to build you an amazing system underground. And then they say, that sounds great. And you can do it cheaper than a train? Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll accept the contract. Just let our engineers look at this and make sure it's all above water. Oh, wait, Elon, it doesn't look like this makes sense because we have the Edwards Aquifer underneath Kyle and San Antonio and all these other places where there's limestone. Does this seem like something that you can do? No response. Hey, Musk, just following up on our email, can you please respond to some of the questions we had about the feasibility of this project? No response. Elon Musk is just ghosting all of these localities across the country on his bullshit. So from Tesla to SpaceX to all these things, this guy is somebody who is a pure creation of the media, which is why it's not that surprising that he has decided that he needs to buy and control one of the largest, platforms in the U.S. And just to bring it up to something that I know our audience and Matt and I, as much as I don't like to admit it, are included in. People who spend a little bit too much time online. A lot of the frustration with Elon has been his control of Twitter.com and dropping the Twitter file stuff. I think we're going to have Bronco on the show soon to talk about some of the things that the left maybe should take seriously about this. Just talking from a pure product level. Let's see how he has been doing as the lead spokesperson and visioneer for Twitter.com.
Of features as high as possible.
Yes. I mean, I think, frankly, if you want to have a really high velocity of features, I think we'll just need to do a total rewrite of the whole thing.
Wait, seriously, a total rewrite. That's your prediction for velocity.
Yeah.
Well, when you say a total rewrite, do you mean starting with the skeleton, or a bunch of engineers sit down with a whiteboard and say, what is Twitter? Revolution or reform?
I mean, I just mean like literally, like there's like you could either try to amend the crazy stack that exists, or rewrite it.
But when you say crazy stack, what do you mean? Like, break it down.
Have you seen George's diagram?
No. I mean, like, what do you mean by crazy? No, seriously. Come on, buddy. Come on.
Who are you?
What do you mean? Who am I? I don't know. You gave me the fucking mic. I got no.
I didn't
clue.
give you the mic.
Whoa! I'm doing the mic, and let's keep it civil in my space.
I mean, yeah.
Like what? No, man. You're in charge of the servers and the programming, whatever. Like, what is the stack? Elon?
Keep things
Come on,
technical
man.
in my space, please.
Take me from top to bottom. What does the stack look like right now? What's so crazy about it? What's so abnormal about this stack versus every other large-scale system on the planet, buddy? Come on, give it to me.
All right. So first off,
amazing.
Wow,
Wait.
you're a jackass.
Okay.
All right, no. I got no credibility here, buddy. I got no idea what I'm talking about.
First off, let's
Why
keep my
get into
space civil.
arguments here, you know? Like,
We removed him from speakers.
I love that so much. I will say the only cred that I'll ever give for to Musk is I do love a good jackass. I think jackass is a good one where you can throw that in there every once in a while. But
yeah, this is what Elon's tunnel looks like.
This is
Rainbow
live
Road.
footage of the Las Vegas
Yeah.
tunnel.
This is that's an artist rendering. That's actually an artist rendering of what it's going to be like. In just 2 years, we'll have that.
Yeah, I mean, this is somebody who going back to the old days. I mean, do you remember the children who were caught in the cave in Southeast Asia?
Oh, good, I forget. Yeah, they were saved by a pedophile, according to Elon. Yeah,
and Elon Musk designed the submarine that the people who actually saved the children were saying, "Hey, we don't want this, but if you want to donate to help us get supplies, we'd love it." So instead of just taking the L there, he went publicly and accused them of being pedophiles. This is somebody who's never challenged, surrounds himself with yes men. We said this last week, 2 weeks ago. You know, when he built the Model Y car. Mm-hmm. He was obsessed with the idea that they wouldn't need a steering wheel for it because it would be fully autonomous, and they had to secretly, design one with a steering wheel because they knew they were going to need one.
Hey, he's really good at delegating and having people delegate for him. Apparently,
I mean, this is somebody who has been so negative, and not to bring it too much to home, but I don't know if you remember Myra Flores, who ran for Congress. Musk made a big thing about how he was going to be Myra Flores, for people who don't remember.
I've never voted Republican before.
Yes, I've never voted Republican before, so this is the first time I vote for Myra Flores. Myra Flores, crazy right-wing Trump Republican, loses. Elon Musk didn't vote. Did I tell you this?
Oh yeah, I think I remember that. That's hilarious.
They looked at the voter data because the other thing about Musk too, he's like, "Oh, I'm just going back to how we started the show, Matt. This humble guy. He doesn't own a home in Texas. He just lives in a trailer at Starbase. I hate even that I used the fake name he's given that part of the state. But no, I mean, this is somebody who likes to talk a lot and has a lot of people who say yes to him. And now I think with Twitter, he's sort of having to expose himself a little bit. Like, look, the stuff about trans people and all the other things that he like the kind of edgelord right wing stuff, it makes me mad. It annoys me. Don't misunderstand me here. It was like, whatever. He's a fucking rich guy. Of course he's got bad views on things. But when you see his incapability of running these companies, of running a platform like Twitter for years, like you and I have been seeing, and realizing that, no, there's still this kind of mythology around this guy. And then seeing it so quickly drop the kind of public perception of him, I got to say has been a little sweet. Because this is somebody who's bad. And like, the thing is too, is that like, look, there are right-wing figures, Matt, who we don't like. We do segments on the show where we talk about right-wing figures we don't like. We talk about Musk more. And why do we talk about Musk more than a Crowder or any of those other people on this platform? For me and for both of us, it's because this is a guy, because of this absurd system that we're living in, has a lot of ability to sort of influence the world around him. And we think that's bad. Not only should somebody have that much power, but it's just exceptionally dangerous when you realize that people like that are fucking incompetent and stupid and dangerous.
Yes. Let that sink in. And so Musk, I want to bring in, and not to the crypto guys, because crypto again was just basically a silly sort of version of all this nonsense. Mm-hmm. All this sort of creating, some bringing the value of the future today, and all you need to do is, invest in this property here. we have this clip. I just want to share this thread first that kind of describes it. But I think like we think of the show as like time capsule. This is the clip that to me I think is the most interesting. And if you have somebody who is peeved after what happened to crypto, if they got burned by it, this is the clip to show them. Jacob Silverman, who we had on recently. This 2021 video is notorious on crypto Twitter and deserves wider viewership. Watch VC's David Sachs and Chamath Palihapitiya brag about buying huge amounts of Solana at a discount, planning to dump on retail. Solana has been called one of Sam's coins because Sam Bankman-Fried was a booster. Chamath had been appearing on YouTube TV, or appearing on TV, proudly claiming that he had passed on investing in FTX. Sachs has been accusing the mainstream media of providing cover for SBF. Again, a lot of these guys are around the sort of Andreessen Horowitz venture capital team that is advising Musk, Calacanis himself particularly. But they were deeply invested in the token that Sam helped pump. VCs helped cause this mess. Along with a number of other firms, Alameda invested in Solana's ICO, initial coin offering, that means, in interviews, which is ridiculous, I know, right? In interviews and on Twitter, SBF often promoted Solana, even offering to buy people's Solana holdings. Crypto has been very good for VCs because they get tokens at a discount, as Chamath says in that video, and then sometimes after a lockup period, can dump on retail near the top of the market. Beats getting company equity and waiting years for an exit liquidity event. Many of the VCs bragging about how they passed on FTX or saw through SBF have invested in other crypto companies and benefited enormously from an industry that has fleeced retail traders. Jason Calacanis has rightly criticized crypto VCs for some of this stuff, saying that they'll face litigation and possibly even criminal action. He could have been talking about his friends, his podcast co-hosts who touted their discount Cylindra purchases. And, people can check out this thread. They can search it for Jacob here. I'll play this clip now just so you can see these guys in action and just gleefully, basically, leaving the bank after robbing all the people trying to deposit their shit.
Here, Chamath Palihapitiya, and I'm your boy J Cal.
Sachs, I gotta say, I think your AUM is positively correlated with the bags under your eyes.
If you mean it's getting bigger, you're correct.
I mean, fuck.
They're heavy.
Good Lord.
They're heavy, dragging you down.
That's where you're hiding all that Solana, in your fucking under your eyes. Jesus.
You better clear that Solana position. What's your lockup? 24 months?
Fuck no. He's trying to sell it to me on text message.
Yeah, of course he is.
We're negotiating discounts.
I just had the founder on the
you're
pod.
fucking the whole thing up.
Bro, you don't think
I'm hodling.
You think I buy hundreds of millions of dollars of anything without a discount? Everything is a discount.
Everything's discounted. You want to clear that position in an LLC?
Are you saying?
Now, what's fascinating to me about this is they all talk like they're fucking DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. Like, what clear this position? What's your lockup? All this jargon. And it's one thing when those guys are talking about like actual companies because it gives them some kind of gravitas or authority. To hear these fucking bozos who haven't done shit for society talk about this sort of fake nonsense and how much money that they're going to just actual, fiat that they're going to secure from you fucking dumbasses because they're going to clear it. And when they're saying they're going to hold it, because it's to the moon for sure.
It's
for sure, man.
It's to the moon.
And like, it's so infuriating to me that these are the guys that pretend like, oh yeah, we're the actual ones doing something. Nah, these guys, this is laughable. You want to talk about why like fucking China would be laughing at us? It's not because of like trans affirming healthcare. It's because we've been doing this dumb shit. Because like these guys are the richest people in their neighborhood because of nothing.
Yeah. Nothing, and they've done a tremendous amount of harm. I mean, at this point, jumping into and breaking down the incredible scam that was FTX would be a little bit, feel almost mean-spirited, because that was a scam if you've ever seen one. And all this was them trying to take advantage. I'm talking about wealthy people in this country. trying to take advantage of a loose regulatory system around technology that is not revolutionary, not even particularly new, was something that they could speculate on gratuitously and rope in a lot of fucking people into and steal their money. That's what they did. They stole people's money off of worthless bullshit. And 2022 was their year to do that. And it's been nice to see it collapse in a sense. But then when you remember that a lot of normal people, or even, talking about like wealth, maybe of somewhat means, but nothing like these, the VC folks get roped into bullshit and lose a lot of money so that these fucking guys can laugh around and hang out on a podcast and talk about how much money they stole from people. That's what 2022 was for these folks, and nasty shit.
And it's so depressing. Like, I remember when the crypto industry started claiming like, actually, this is diversity. We're actually getting like unbanked people of color, particularly Black people, involved in this. And that was, and we even said this at the time. Like, that looks good when the price of that shit goes up. When all of a sudden the people that invested in your funny money start not able to get real money out and not able to realize that, to the moon return, then you've just stolen money from those communities that you sold this sort of shit as some sort of solution to like being unbanked or not having access to the traditional stock market. And you scammed all those people. And like, I thought they were lying about that, but no, if you actually look at the numbers, they did. I mean, the podcast on The Athletic that Waz used to be on, the Black Opinions Matter podcast feed, they had specifically a crypto show. And it's like that shit, all those people who got in on it since the Lakers changed their stadium, since the fucking Miami Heat put SBF shit all over this, all those people that look at Matt Damon, Spike Lee, they're all telling me this is the future of finance. What do you think people think? You have a fucking family that whose future you're looking out for. Oh, well, do your research. No, the research is all fucking obscured by bullshit paid for by people like Jason Calacanis and his friends there who are talking about how they're going to flip Sam Bankman-Fried funny money.
So I was against Bitcoin from the get-go. And I know that's what you can say, but luckily I talk about this enough that you can go and find out that I'm on record thinking this is bullshit. But when it went from just me being like, oh, the libertarians are pushing it, are annoying, I think this is crap, I think people should get away from this scam. It started becoming a little bit of an obsession for me, Matt, was when this came out.
Yep.
Can Bitcoin be Palestine's currency of freedom? Bitcoin gives Palestinians a voice, a powerful avenue for peaceful protest, and the opportunity to find sovereignty among oppressive economic policies. That, to me, was it. Like, you're not only just like, scamming, some folks who are trying to get rich quick. You're trying to sell this to people who are being stomped on by global capitalism and Israeli and American imperialism, and instead of just saying, "I'm trying to steal your fucking money from you, chump," they were pulling, they were trying to paint it as if it was like a nice and wonderful thing.
And I mean, this is why this is sort of my alley, like media criticism and Marxism. If you look at, particularly when I look at like my hometown newspaper, Bismarck Tribune, this is a concept called boosterism. I'll just share the Wikipedia with folks. Like, this is like, why am I hearing about this? Is it because people are just I'm in a free flowing sort of, I'm roaming around the idea sphere looking for different truths just to like, for truth's sake? No, you're getting fed something because people are fucking invested. And so it's like boosterism, the act of promoting, boosting a town, city, or organization with the goal of improving public perception. Boosting can be simple as talking up the enemy. I mean, that's all that was. That was, we need to boost this idea instead of move to the fucking frontier because we need to, because the railroad companies have land plots that they need to sell. This is, we have some fake funny money, and look at the celebrity did it, and it's the future, and you want to get in before everybody else does because this is the future of money.
Mm-hmm.
And won't you feel bad if you look back 10 years from now and everybody else has got on board with the future of money and you haven't? And it's you see this all the time throughout history. The only thing new is they had a new technology that they could like sort of project it onto that made people think that there was something new here.
Exactly. And the environmental stuff is just unbelievable when you really look into it. Going back to Abbott, you want to talk about another thing that Abbott did. Not only did they do very little to fix the grid here, which is this week we had another cold snap and there was worries about electricity staying off for folks. It survived. Close. It was not good. Just saying, as somebody who watches electricity markets in the state of Texas, he brought in the Bitcoin boys to try to fix the grid here. So that was the kind of, investment that he was doing. I also want to shout out Meme Boy. Thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it very much. And appreciate you too.
Oh, thank you, Meme Boy.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, these guys are. It really does come to the level of like monstrousness from them. I think a lot of people got wrapped up in it, and as I've talked about, I think that like from some people who have more progressive leanings, a lot of it comes to the fact that people are confused about the Fed. And we talked about this last week, Matt, if you remember.
Yeah.
Fed is very confusing. There's issues with we didn't talk about this last week together, but I did it on the Griscom stream. I did a whole breakdown. If you want to watch it, it's good. Trying to break down the kind of Steve Bannon style arguments against the Fed and how they're very different from like a left one. But they thrive in the space that like, yeah, money is something that is a very clear example, like US dollar, something that is very clear that the system is rigged to benefit a few folks. But Bitcoin and like speculative bullshit like that is not the answer to it. The answer is taking these things under public control and utilizing the power of finance, utilizing the power of the state to be able to produce currency for social needs and goods is something that we should be doing on the left. And what Bitcoin did is they which like so much of the right does, so much of these kind of bullshit, semi-progressive, like financial scams do, where they highlight a problem and then they give you a bullshit solution. And Bitcoin and a lot of these people were very much in that world.
Yeah.
So, what's the title? So we're not giving it to Musk because I don't think Musk's done yet. And I'd like to keep him in the chamber for 2023, unfortunately. But we're giving the bum steer of the year to
speculators of the future.
Speculators of the future.
Yeah, I think that kind of encompasses. We could say venture capitalists, but I like
that's too permanent. That's not going away. They'll find a new one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think 2022 really was the year of speculators of the future. I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, because that I like that because that does encompass. Elon is just that, and that's why I do like it. We'll get Jacob back on this era of Fed monetary policy and how we sort of, reacted to the financial crisis that at the end of the Bush administration and Obama was just to flood the zone with cash and give it to like these sorts of lords, like Silicon Valley edge lords, and now they're fucking freaking out. And it's no wonder, like, people are wondering, like, oh, look at all these Silicon Valley guys. They're really turning it against media because they are charlatans.
Yeah.
They're all liars. They are fucking full of shit. You look at we've talked about this over and over again. They don't make money on return on investment. It's from the fucking fees of placing these investments and shit like that. And so like they're all full of shit. All these guys do is, and they just, and you get all these fees. And then if you land one of these Ubers or something that gets bought up by Google or whatever, then you make all this money and you can buy a McLaren and talk to CNN about how you could just start a fiefdom in Puerto Rico or wherever the fuck, but actually you want to create a business and your wife is like, maybe let's keep are cool, and he's like, yeah, it's the fastest car. So we're going to really start a business with this. But yeah, that's 2022.
Big losers of the year. Well, folks, here's what we're going to do. It's the holiday season, so Matt and I are feeling generous. We're going to do a post game tonight, but we're not going to put it up solely for patrons. It will be on twitch.tv/leftreckoning. Patrons will still get access to the Discord and the phone calls and all that. So, if you want to get access to that, sign up at patreon.com/leftreckoning. It's a great time to do it. We got a lot of really exciting stuff coming out next year. We're going to be coming over there in about 10 minutes or so. So you can catch us at twitch.tv/leftreckoning. Patrons, you'll still get access to it on YouTube as well as the audio version as well.
And we should say, folks might want to check us out over on a little app you might have heard of called Spotify, where
Yes,
our video podcast, I'm happy to say, is available. And I don't know why this impresses me so much.
It does. It impresses me too.
You go over here, you watch us, and there it is.
Yeah, you can see us on Spotify now too. So make sure that you're a listener. And most of our listeners actually listen. I mean, the people who are watching now on live on YouTube, etc. We love you very much. But I'm always surprised. A lot more people listen than watch. And also, don't forget, January 2023, January 22nd, we're going to be at the Cutting Room in New York City with Ben Burgess, Jason Miles. Who's this fella? Sam Cedar, Emma Vigland. It's going to be a hell of a show. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Bhaskar Shankar, could not forget him as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. So you can get your tickets now. There's links below for how to get tickets. Come see Matt and I in New York City. I'm really looking forward to that. We'll be on Twitch in about 10 minutes, twitch.tv/leftreckoning. Thanks, everybody, for a really... We covered a lot of fucked up shit, but I had a great time doing it with all of y'all over here at Left Reckoning. Looking forward to next year. And take care, everybody. Join us over at Twitch. See you in a minute.
Peace.